to the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker, a comedian, and their guest, who is an awesome comedian and featured performer at the 2019 Big Pine Comedy Festival, hack and slash and slap and stab and shoot an arrow through the neck of the 1980s movies that we love or love to hate. This is Friday the 13th, which is a movie selection from 1980. And our guest is Tony Tripoli, who is the executive producer and head writer of Fashion Police, which is amazing.
Cancel Fashion Police. Yes, tremendous.
And you worked with Joan Rivers.
I did. I worked for Joan. Oh, that's so different.
Yes.
Oh, you didn't hear the part where I said, Fashion Police were canceled. We're no longer on the air. But that's okay. Yeah, no, Joan was amazing. We can talk about the 80s.
Yes.
Remember Joan on The Tonight Show and those Oscar de la Renta gowns? And I remember then she got her own talk show, and I want to say like 87. Yeah. First female to have her own talk show. She's Johnny never spoke to her again. And she actually told me, I don't know if you want to hear the gossip.
Of course.
She actually, Johnny Carson's son famously, one of his sons, I think, overdosed. And they had not spoken in a few years. She called him, and his assistant or housekeeper said, Mr. Carson, it's Joan Rivers on the line for you. And he said, thank you, and took the phone and then click, put it back in the old school carriage, click. Yeah, never spoke to her. She sent flowers when another death happened, either a wife or a child, and he literally made the florist come and pick them up and take them out of his house.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he took that anger to his grave.
Wow. That must be fun to just be carrying around all those grudges.
In the forest.
So we watched Friday the 13th, the first one, the one from 1980. And Nathan Blackwell, who is always here with me, my filmmaker companion. Had you seen Friday the 13th before?
Yeah, so my history with the movie was, so my brother Logan and my two younger brothers, Logan and Brian, were big into campy movies, especially like
campy movies like they take place at camp?
No. Close, though, because about 50% of them, were slasher movies. So, I was, horror is not, like, huge on my list as a filmmaker or as a film audience member, but, like, I always really dug, like, Friday the Nightmare on Elm Street and, like, Halloween, and I just never got into Friday the 13th. It was the stuff that my brothers got into, and I was like, oh, this is dumb. And so, but I feel like it is dumb. It's not. I feel like
smart.
I've come full circle with Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Which
is so dumb.
It is so dumb.
Which is not liking it, and then having respect, just being a filmmaker, knowing how much work goes into things. But since full circle is coming back where you started, I now hate it again. So,
I love it.
I know we're, spoiler alert, the ending scene.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert from 1980.
So beautiful
Yes.
when she's in that canoe out on the lake. It's so beautiful until the close up. And then it's like nighttime, and it's like so clearly
that should have been where it ended.
The same.
Yeah.
And then the thing that happens, of course, which obviously we'll talk about. But I'm like, is it good filmmaking when the quality of a shot jumps from your A camera to your B camera within the same scene? They don't even look like they were shot on the same day. I mean, they probably weren't.
I don't think they were.
But it's like they're supposed to look like they were shot on the same.
I think they thought of it later, and they were like, "Oh, what if this happened?"
Do you think it's because of the success of Carrie? I mean, it's such a rip-off of the ending.
So there's so many, there's so many other movies. So there's Carrie, and then just like the music is like, so Halloween was just a few years before, but like the music sounds exactly like a blend of Psycho and Jaws. Like,
totally.
Dun, boom, 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 boom.
And the like, cha isn't even right in the first movie.
Yeah, so
they didn't even get it right yet.
That's what it's bringing to the plate, so that's like the iconic. I think the best thing about Friday the 13th is really the beginning of the franchise and like the stuff that it sets forward. Like in some ways, like the first one is great, and then the other ones diminish. I think this is the reverse. I mean, or this is like it builds up until it finds itself.
It's like McDonald's.
Yeah, or
it's starting with a shit product, but somehow it turns it into an American institution.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason is so iconic to not even a film lover. Everybody knows Jason, and the idea that he's not even mentioned.
Yeah, he's not
in the first movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And they somehow, after this awful movie was made, they figured out a way to get how many more? 12? Aren't there 13 of these movies?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So
and well,
God
then they're
bless America.
continuing to churn those out.
Yeah, it's so like with, like Mad Max. Like the first one is good, but it hadn't quite found its feet.
Right.
And then like suddenly you've got like the iconic Road Warrior, and it's like
But
now
the first one
they
is
know what we're doing.
still
Good.
the same universe and the same idea of a story, and you just see, oh, it was really low budget and whatever.
Right.
This movie, like, literally has nothing to do with any of the other movies,
yeah.
except
That's
for
exactly
the kid
right.
that jumps out at the end, who then in the next movie is 40.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they kind of take it and then go from there.
40.
And not a burn
and-
victim, and it's like none of it makes sense.
Yeah.
and alive, and yeah, all of this stuff. But I love this movie. I think it's great. I'm not saying it's good, but I love it. Right?
I mean, it does have Kevin Bacon in it, so
yeah,
that's a
baby
plus.
bacon.
Who
That does have a
is-
baby Bacon.
And is really good in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like with clearly not a great director and not the greatest whatever cast, he is so in it, and it's not because we now know he's famous. You
Yeah.
just look at his performance and go, that is so different from everyone else in the film somehow.
Yes. Well, and a lot of the people from the film were, like, especially the girl who plays the main character, they just had like an open casting call as like a way to get publicity, and also to say like, oh look, here's somebody who really is exactly like a pure and lovely camp counselor would be.
Which do you mean? The short-haired girl?
Alice, the
The
one,
blonde, the blonde short hair.
the one who lives.
Yes. Alice.
Was that blonde?
Was it blondish?
Okay, yeah.
Pretty sure she's a redhead.
Is
I
that
don't
a
know.
No.
successful horror movie when only one person lives and none of us can describe her or tell you who
Or
it
what
was?
her name is?
Yeah.
Because
I know it was a
there's
girl.
also
She
an
had one-
Annie.
yeah,
There's also
exactly.
an Annie and like
Annie and Alice,
I
yeah.
think she's the girl whose tits
the-
we didn't see.
Right, the
I
hip,
think is
the
the-
hippie
And that's
girl.
why
Yeah.
she got to live, as we all know now.
Yeah, there was one scene in the beginning where Alice like talks about her life and what she wants, and there's like she has some kind of like motivation or character, and then that's the last we see of it.
And then she's just the short-haired girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it, like
The one
literally,
who doesn't take her
Yeah.
top off during Strip
There's-
Monopoly. So, when the movie starts, if we go like somewhat chronologically, we start in the 1950s, and like it's all like Michael row the boat ashore, and then of course the horny teens have to go into the hayloft to get the hump on.
It's kind of the beginning of Halloween, isn't it?
Is it?
Like the point of view of the killer.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's a lot of point
but
of view.
here's my other thing as a filmmaker. Are you allowed to do some shots that are the point of view of the killer, but then other scenes where the camera is shaky and is clearly the point of view of the killer, and then the camera just turns around behind the person in the scene, and it turns out not to be another person
Yeah.
ever? Like half of the, what would it be?
Oh,
It's not
yeah,
a tracking
that- yeah.
shot. If it's a steady cam shot, like half of those where it's jumpy and the music is swelling, it's just a misdirect. It's like just
Yeah.
a camera. Like there were some bumps in the track.
There
It
were
wasn't
definitely a lot of cheats in the movie. Like, so, okay, so again, spoiler alert, the killer is not Jason, but Jason's mom.
Right.
And
And we don't know anything about Jason.
in
Yeah.
a sweater so debilitating, she could not have performed any of the physical acts necessary to kill those people.
Do you
that
know how
sweater
much
is
upper
so
body
cumbersome.
strength it would take to throw a teenager through a
Pay
window
them,
on
but
you?
this is a woman who literally gets pushed over and can't get up for like over 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But we think that she picked up a 110-pound girl and like she nailed that man to a door with arrows that would have to have been shot from a distance
She brings a
while
step
someone
stool.
else was holding him up at the height. Like, you're dead, but I need you to jump in the air when I shoot that arrow from 100 yards. None of this makes
There
sense.
No.
needs to be like
It's
a
impossible.
logical, like a YouTube video that shows like the moments we don't see of her bringing out a step stool and then carrying it up and then
That
using
is
a
that is the
pulley.
funniest SNL sketch that has never happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
The behind the scenes of her name Deborah. Is it Brenda? Barbara.
Barbara Voorhees?
Barbara Voorhees. I
don't
want to
know.
know
Mrs. Voorhees.
Lady Voorhees.
Barbara Voorhees going to the hardware store to buy her supplies
To get her axe.
A to-do
the
list.
week before. That is
Practicing her
so
archery.
funny.
She's like, I gotta nail this archery. Those kids are gonna be at
A
camp
friend of
next
mine
week.
is a very famous actor named Drew Droege. He's a great character actor that you've all seen in a million things. He's very internet famous for playing Chloe Sevigny in those videos, those little internet YouTube clips. He's hilarious. and he does a bit where he is Barbara Voorhees reading a inspiration of the day calendar, like one where you tear it off.
Yes.
And it's just her being grumpy in that sweater, reading, like successories, like any mountain you can imagine is a mountain you can climb. And then she tears the page of the guy. It's just like this hilarious art piece that doesn't make sense but is amazing.
I love it because she really had to put a lot of thought and effort and timing. She's been doing this since 1958. When she killed the first round of kids.
Slow burn.
Yeah, and she's been dreaming of this day since then, when the children would return and the horny teens would be back in the wilderness. And I love the idea too of her being like, you know what's going to be fun? I'm going to take this bloody axe. I'm going to put it in the bed like it's a person.
Right. I'm going to warn them that there's a killer afoot because that always works out well. And by the way, what is she? Is she like a Mary Kay consultant? Like, what has she been doing for the last 20 whatever years?
Makes
to
jewelry
afloat?
at home.
Because you know what's expensive? Axes.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
Yeah,
And
ammunition, like those big long Bowie knives. Holy cow, that woman was like, she had an income. And I was going to say, and with a special needs son to raise, but I guess she wasn't raising him because he was living at the bottom of the lake like a sea creature.
Yes.
I don't know.
I think he was brought to life
Like,
through
she
like
really
teenage horniness.
She believes he's dead, right?
Yeah,
and
she
so
100%
someone's
believes he's
jizz
dead.
activated her dead son's corpse.
Just I think the spirit of horniness, it just concentrates itself and reanimates the dead.
Listen, I know that women in their early 20s are fertile, but that just feels that feels excessive.
Impossible? Yes. Well, and I mean, unless we believe that if we give it a reality, then she's dreaming that part about Jason dragging her into the lake, because the cops are like, there was no boy, you didn't go in the lake, so she dreamed that. But then in the next movie, there's a 40-year-old grumpy guy.
And what is, in the next movie, what is the explanation?
There is not one.
It's like now it's a few years later and we're going to reopen the camp.
Like 1 year later. It came out 1 year later.
So it's
they had to be in production when the movie was released.
So Town, really sorry about the reopening of Camp Blood and how it turned out to be way bloodier than it was the first two times.
So much more.
P.S. Reopening again next summer.
Real quick.
Don't anticipate any problems.
Don't worry about it. And the people in that town, we get to meet so many of the people of that town in the diner, and the truck driver who gives the first murder victim a ride in his car, and all they want to do is comment about how good looking the women are and just wonder if the other counselors at the camp are going to be as good looking as the one that they're looking at.
And the girl hitchhiking with the clearly dangerous truck driver is like, oh, stop. It's
you're
so flattering.
An American original.
Oh, my God, you're so cute the way you harass me.
This is so fun, yeah.
He's going to rape you.
Oh,
I know it's 1980 and it doesn't happen in this scene.
Yeah.
He for sure raped her
in
one of the outtakes.
It's
we all know that.
And also the camp counselor, Steve, who's just always with the shirt off. And he comes up to the main girl, who I think is named Annie, and he's stroking her hair and looking at her drawings and being
Were they in bed the night before or not? I totally don't know.
They had
Did they have sex?
Well, but then that would make her impure, and then she wouldn't have survived. And also, how does she have the strength to machete a head off?
She couldn't even get those nails in the end of the roof there. Yeah. She's up there on a ladder doing that the complete most wrong way, and this is coming from the gayest man in Flagstaff right now. She's on that ladder dangerously non-hammering, and then she was whack, one clean shot.
And it just we see the inside of the neck as it flies away. Wow. Not even a...
I like that, again, we're cutting back and forth, and I apologize.
No,
but
that's
I love
totally
that
cool.
Deborah Voorhees...
Let's just keep
By the way,
changing your
if
name.
you're going to have a character who is going to get decapitated, maybe don't put her in a turtleneck. Let's think ahead. You had options. She could have been in a V-neck sweater. It could have been it could have been equally as cumbersome. But then we would see it's so odd that she's in this weird buy it back. We have no effects budget. Turtleneck. And then as the actress, her actress choice, which couldn't have been on the pages, was to raise her hands at shoulder level and then flex and bend her fingers.
Oh, no,
which I guess is what you do when you're decapitated.
It was not an actress. Those were man hands.
Oh,
those were clearly,
really
those were.
because it's a stunt person
big,
in
beefy,
a sweater torso.
That's, I
break
guess, why
this
they
down
had
for
to
me.
have a splitter
Nate, break
torso.
this down.
So in terms of the cheats, every time we see the killer, like there's a couple of points we don't see the killer's head, but we see their hands. It is 100% a beefy man hand. It is like a stunt man.
Holy shit.
And so when you see it decapitated, it's a special effects person. It's not the actress. And you again see the beefy man hands go.
And literally all you're doing is a hand motion, and you're bad acting. You're bad. It's like those commercials for like, regular drawers are too difficult to operate.
Yeah.
And it shows like a hand actor go, and like express outrage with just their hands and fingers. She literally was like, I'm decapitated, like flexing and shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
But I wonder if that hand actor was like, what would I do if I were decapitated and I'm filled with rage? Not this.
You would
You
do
don't-
you would do
Oh, yeah.
this. You would grab it. Where's my head?
Hand
You would
actor.
touch your bloody stump of a neck
Yeah.
and be like, oh.
It's like the assistant special effects person. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to rig this on Tom.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we can't afford to pay an actor. We're going to put it on Tom, and then we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do that. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But the women in this movie, you have to give them credit for how much like upper body strength they must have, because they're just constantly.
Yeah. The fight
Getting
scene
it
at
done.
the end in
There's- oh
the
my God.
little cabin and then
Yes.
out on the dirt by
Uh-huh.
the boat is, again, inappropriately lengthy for
Yes.
how little injuries they
She
sustain.
spends like a good 40 seconds just slapping her, like she's gonna slap
They
her
had
to
like
death.
that had to be 2 weeks of just
Yeah.
shooting of like rolling around, and I don't know, did they have
Probably
been a
shot
man?
the movie in 2 weeks.
Was there a man in a turtleneck and a wig that was like stunt? Is there a stunt man,
Well,
Barbara?
I did read that the actress who plays Barbara Voorhees, Mrs. Voorhees, was like the most famous person because everybody else was nobody.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like a theatrically trained actress who insisted on slapping that girl in the face and just kept being like, no, I can do it. I'm from the theater. I know how to slap your face in a way.
Let me just say, and I do not mean this as a compliment, she was clearly theatrically trained.
Yes.
And belonged nowhere on a movie set.
Yeah.
For that same reason.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, in those moments where we have to like really look at her teeth so closely as she's like, kill her, mommy, kill her, mommy.
It's the reverse Psycho, isn't it? To where the reveal is
Yeah.
that it's not the mom killing everyone, that it's the son dressing up as the mom. Instead, it's not the son,
mom.
it's actually the mom.
Yeah.
Inhabiting her, so trauma comes in all forms.
I don't understand I think Kevin Bacon has the best death.
Yes.
The thing coming from underneath
Again, very logistically difficult with like a full arrow coming underneath the bed.
he's
And
like,
so
like the length of
is
an
that
arrow.
a head cast of him, or is it him with then a fake torso that then gets the gimmick through it?
Because it comes through his throat, so it's probably
His real face?
Yeah, his real face, and then just like a fake rest of the body, and then it just coming in through there, and it's probably just something small, like a couple.
It's
like-
somebody was blowing in a tube, because that was what he was doing. He was like crouching and like
Yeah.
sort of kneeling with his head
Head
up.
Okay.
And then the arrow comes up through his throat, and it was like all prosthetic, but they didn't have enough money to make a second prosthetic.
so they could do one take.
They had one take. It didn't work. So the second in command special effects guy, who I assume we saw doing the hand acting, like,
Clearly.
starts blowing into the thing to make the blood sort of spurt out.
People that are good at blowing are generally also great with their hands. So I've just found that to be true in life. Not on movie sets, but just in life. One take bacon.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yes.
And by the way, delivering in the short shorts.
Yes.
All those 80s short shorts are not easy to wear, and the whole male cast really came through with that, I gotta say. I know it's about those beautiful 80s cut bathing suits on young women. I don't mean to ogle them, but they all look dynamite. That was when women could like have that curve.
Yeah.
I guess we're sort of bringing it back, but it wasn't about like that Kardashian ass lip
Yes.
balance that they now women have to do. It was more like the hourglass thing. They all looked like the woman in the Tab Cola commercial.
Yeah, and
Just
it's
walking
not,
down the
you're not
beach.
seeing gigantic tits. It's like real-looking
No,
teenagers.
I
You
love
do see
small
boobs
boobs
in
that
this movie,
move.
and you see them, and they're just like regular old teenage boobies.
Right. Well, it was clearly that late 80s was when suddenly everything became overtanned silicone.
Yeah,
And you never saw those kind of boobs again.
and that's the horror
and
movie
you
we're
never
gonna get.
saw those boobs again.
Twere never seen
Dun,
again.
dun, dun. But so of the young men too that are in this counselor staff, there's a kid named Ned. Who we have to assume is Kevin Bacon's like best friend or something. They like ride out together. He's the nerd, but he's also an asshole who like fakes drowning.
Well, there's always a nerd. There's always a nerd that's like ugly and can't get laid.
Yeah, that's
always played by a very attractive actor in glasses, whose hair's just grown a little bit long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this kid was like, he's definitely the nerd. He's the third wheel. He's like not part of the Kevin Bacon and his girlfriend's like little situation.
They were like, oh, he wears glasses and his hair has a curl. Jew. Like clearly, that, you know what I mean? That's what they were trying to say in 1980.
And he fakes a drowning so that he can get one of the girls to like
mouth to mouth him.
Give him the CPR. What a
classic move.
He deserved to die.
Most of these people did.
Well.
Oh, they all deserve to die. After seeing the dailies, they all, I'm kidding, there were no dailies.
At 11 minutes and 48 seconds, I wrote down, kill me next.
Kill me next. Oh. I think this is such, like, that I would want to be a camp, aside from the murder. Like, they're having a great time. They've got beer and weed and strip Monopoly, and they're just
which is logistically
they're just living their
interesting.
life.
Because nothing's more fun than stripping that takes 4 hours. I don't care if you are 19.
Cold.
No one can stay
hurry
hard
up?
that long. Like, I lost it and got hard a second time when you landed on my railroad. Like, stop it. This game is endless.
And fully endless because they don't even finish it. Like, just at the moment.
The alternative is the douchebag who brought a guitar and is like, I'll entertain everyone. Fuck you. Dude, we have a radio. I'm sorry. Put on Wolfman Jack. Shut the fuck up with your yodely ass.
Don't make me listen to you play acoustic guitar at me.
Oh, my God. We're trapped. There's nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go. They can't get out of there.
This douche is on the couch with a fucking acoustic guitar.
Yep. And apparently rain, any sort of rain, makes it impossible, even in a Jeep or a police car, whatever those are,
wet.
to get to. They don't work wet. He's just like, oh, it's raining. I can't go back to the unattended people who are younger than adults. Teenagers.
Yes.
I can't get back to the unattended teenagers that I have left to do all of the work at my summer camp.
And where did he go?
To a fucking diner.
But I mean, he left at like noonish.
And was supposed to be back before dinner.
Was there stuff in the... Was he pulling like a trailer, like he'd gone and bought supplies all day and then went to the diner? Where even in 1980, you're not getting a full meal for $2.50. So again, I call bullshit. Like, I was alive in 1980. I'm sad to say I was alive in 1980 and purchasing things. You weren't getting a full meal in a diner for $2.50. Shut up.
Yeah, I was alive, but not yet purchasing things. So that is
an
important difference. Well, I got the impression, too, that the people in the town hated this dude for wanting to reopen Camp Blood or whatever.
I think they hated him because he was the only person with a hairy chest.
And so willing to show it, too.
They were like, we resent your chest hair.
Yeah.
And for that reason alone,
we hate you. And he was like, you know what? I'm just going to pop this shirt off. I'm just going to pop it off.
Always.
Because I do have the chest hair, and I just want you guys to know.
Yeah.
And I'm opening the camp, and I got all of this going on, and I have
How old was that character supposed to be?
Fully an adult. Like, I think 40?
But like 32
35?
or 50?
32?
I don't know the answer. Like, literally, because they're supposed to be college kids, so they're supposed to be like 21, 22, right?
Yeah.
So is he 27? Like just a few years older, or is he?
Yeah, it felt like he
hip
was
45-year-old that looks good. Like
that's what I thought. I thought he was like late 40s, like fully
then why
grown
isn't
up.
she 80? Why isn't Barbara Voorhees at least in her end of 70s?
Yeah.
Why is she like, I'm 62 and kicking?
I think like rage is keeping her young. Like horniness animates
a purpose.
Yeah.
A purpose.
Yeah.
And no cigarettes.
no. You don't think no cigarettes?
Clean living.
I think her teeth and voice.
Mommy, don't use that
told the
cigarette.
story of many cigarettes.
Mommy, don't use that cigarette.
But there's so many reasons not to have a camp in this town too. Like the crazy guy who's always like, "Yo, doomed," Ralph on his bicycle.
Yeah.
Yo, doomed.
Why? Who costumed him?
I think he just
Did
showed
Ralph
up.
like bring his own and be like,
Yeah.
okay, I've got this pork pie hat.
Yeah.
And I'm really like, hear me out.
I think my guy would wear this.
Because I was like, it was
Yes, I found my guy.
both specific and vague at the same time.
Yeah.
The way they costumed him.
Uh-huh. And he bicycled around the town, just proclaiming end of days to everyone.
Which were correct.
Yeah.
As the crazies often are in these films.
And we do find out from the police officer that he has a wife. He says at some point, Ralph's wife was scared to death.
It's got to be Barbara Voorhees.
Don't you think? Like, they're a cute couple. They have a cabin.
Like, he literally knows because he's been shopping for weapons with his wife.
And teaching her archery.
He's just drunk a lot, so people don't listen to him. But he's
Yeah.
like, my wife is going to kill everyone.
She's going to kill them. She has a calendar every
It does
day.
change things if they're actually
A couple?
happily married couple with a dead child.
Yeah.
Which would explain his drinking.
Explains his drinking, her psychosis, but they want to stay together. They're trying to make it work.
Wow, he hasn't been under that sweater in 30 years. And she was like a young woman. There was good eating under that sweater. Like I want to give this actress a compliment. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
she was stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The takeaway from this whole genre of like 80s horror films is you deserve to die if you have sex.
Yeah, icky.
But also sex is worth dying for. So it's that weird, right?
And,
Then crazy people are always tapped into something and should be believed.
Yes.
But also, it's the Reagan era, so let's just put them all in institutions and pretend they don't exist. and then
let them out again.
And by 2010, they'll all just be living on park benches and we can complain about them, which we've totally created. So the 80s were great.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Great choices in the 80s.
And then plus these kind of movies, especially slasher movies, were for teenagers that loved like the creative kills and the jump scares, and they knew it was kind of a roller coaster, and the story was not as important. It was just the roller coaster experience.
Yeah, it was like, get that next kid dead. That one. I picked that one. Kill that one next.
Yeah.
That one's wandering off. Get him.
In some ways, kind of like very much like a video game, to where it's like you know, with like Nightmare on Elm Street and Child's Play leans a lot more into the suspense.
Right.
This was just more about like the thrill of the next kill.
There's truly no suspense at all in this. There are long, boring stretches, which I think they called suspense when they had the 3x5 cards up on the corkboard.
So boring.
And long, boring
So
stretches
long.
of...
Oh, my God. Of her, like, when she discovers that there's a killer and she finds Bill's body's dead, and she's, like, barricading the door with, like...
the lightest items in the room.
She, like, takes the acoustic guitar. And,
Yeah,
like,
let me
tosses it
take
at the
this
door.
wicker chair.
Yes.
And, oh, look at this. Oh, a stapler. Like,
Put that
bitch,
there,
there's
yeah.
a couch. I just saw you on it with the guitar guy.
And we
Push
know,
the couch.
We know that you have got the arm strength.
You could deadlift that couch, you bitch.
Absolutely good.
So when the mom, Mrs. Voorhees, first attacks Alice,
Yeah.
and Alice goes into a gun room at a camp for kids, and there's literally
It was the
20
80s.
guns
They were just- yeah.
on the wall, and she can't get the ammo, but she's still got the gun in her hand, and she goes, oh, damn, it doesn't work. She drops it. This is a large, like, 10-pound
Yes.
metal and wood
Thank you.
gun, which is fantastic as a club. So she drops the gun, and she picks up a small little thing of yarn and throws it at Mrs. Voorhees.
Throw the yarn. But like, this is the origin story of that being a cliche, right? Of me being like, oh my God, I'm not safe. Walk past the guns and all the things you could use as weapons or actual barricades and throw that ball of yarn.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I believe why. This is my theory. I believe the actress that played Barbara Voorhees insisted on there being a shot of the item hitting her in the face.
Okay.
It was probably supposed to be she is in the gun room and like hits her with the gun, and Barbara was like, that looks so phony. What if she picks something else up and hits me? I can make it look like it was
I'm from
substantial.
the theater.
I am from the theater.
I know how it's done.
I have played Blanche Dubois multiple times in multiple languages. And so I really do think that she was like, and the director was like, okay, just get something light for her to throw.
Look, we
and
got to
put
shoot
this
15
reaction
pages
shot.
today. Let's
and
do
then
it.
I think they were like, oh, I do like that reaction shot of her getting hit in the face. Because, she literally goes, oh, with an item that you would not even feel. It would not even resonate with you at all.
Especially if you spent your entire day like hefting young people and throwing them places and hanging
Just
them
setting
on
booby
things.
traps
Yeah.
and putting half-length arrows underneath bunk beds that you can get under without the people in the bed seeing you scoot under the bed, which is literally 18 inches off the ground.
So much patience. How long was she there?
And you're in the loudest, scratchiest sweater, which again would make sound on that wood floor.
So they're doing
like
it.
a Brillo pad.
They're doing it, and they're like, do you hear that? What do you mean?
I think
do you
that
hear something that
it's her
sounds
sweater scraping against the walls, just a scrape. That's what that sound was the entire movie. It's her fucking wool sweater. When she moves her arms, it's like... That's the sound effect.
That's what it is. Yeah, I 100%. And she's getting her steps, too, because she is all over that fucking camp. She's everywhere.
She's everywhere at once.
She's everywhere and nowhere. But I sort of agree, like, and I do love the moment where she's just, like, exasperated at this point. She's like, I killed the other kids in, like, literally under 5 minutes. Why is this one so hard to kill? Why did I take the time to tell this one about the whole Jason
Why is the
thing?
star of the movie so difficult to finish off?
So hard. And then she just, like, has this moment where she's like, really? All right. Fine. Let's have a slap fight on the beach.
What I wish. So we don't actually know. We don't hear Jason's name. Correct me if I'm wrong. We don't hear Jason's name until like 20 minutes before the end.
Correct.
That's
We
true.
just know a kid died, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't know. We don't think that it's the kid. Like if
we think it's the two kids from the 50s that get murdered in the very beginning.
Right, but we don't have like this mysterious to make the twist like really great. Oh, it's not Jason the kid. It's the mom.
Yeah.
If we had like, oh, maybe it's the kid who's come back from the dead.
Why isn't there a legend in that town?
A legend of
that
Jason.
The kid didn't really die.
Right.
Yeah.
And that he's going to exact his
Right.
revenge.
That they think it's the kid. They think it's Jason. And if we keep hearing
Odd
Jason,
news, they had
Jason,
room for
Jason,
plenty of
Jason,
exposition.
yeah.
The front third of the
So
movie.
and
that
then
never paid
instead
off.
Yeah.
we say, oh, it's again the flip. You get more mileage out of the flip. Oh, it's not Jason. It's his
Maybe
mom.
if the truck driver had
Yeah.
spent less time fingering Annie in the passenger seat of his car and more time talking about the rumor, the legend of Jason.
Of Camp Blood. Well, and that makes more sense, too, if she, like, was keeping him alive, you know, in her little cabin with, you know, she and Ralph were just keeping Jason alive because he drowned, but then they saved him.
They resuscitated him, which is why it's so insensitive that the Jew did a fake drowning like
you know
her
what?
real son. That's why he dies first.
She
How
has
dare
a
you
drowning trigger.
Thank you.
She is
very
triggered.
sensitive for her.
Yes. Okay. I still think this is aside from being boring, it's fun to watch.
I think these movies are fun to watch, but
Yeah.
this one hasn't
It's
quite
not.
reached funness yet.
I have to tell you,
Like not until Jason shows up.
I am,
in my opinion, does it
I'm
start getting fun.
50 years old. And my boyfriend is much younger because I'm successful. And he had not seen this movie. And so I made him watch it with me. And again, looking at it through the eyes of a younger person, like he was just like, why do we have to watch her go all the way to her car,
Oh my God.
get in the car, put the key in the car, start the car, drive out of the parking lot and down 2 blocks. And that is a thing that we don't do now in our filmmaking or our television. We're much more efficient with these new attention spans. But it was hilarious how he was like, oh my God, we know she's leaving. Why are we watching her leave for so long? Which is a super valid note.
Oh, absolutely. And in the beginning, we see that first girl who gets killed, the hitchhiker, walk all the way in a static shot. Walk all the way up to a dog to be like, hey, little dog, how's your today, girl? Oh, I'm sorry, boy. Because the first thing you do when you meet a dog is check the merchandise.
Right. You want to, of course.
You want to be addressing it.
You want to misgender them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then,
you could do that in 1980.
We have to watch it for so long that she's just like...
You know, and not credits while she's walking. Nope. Not like we do the credits. Then we start this endless 14-minute long hike.
Yeah.
Like, I don't actually hike for that long in real life. And I watch this 19-year-old actress come up and approach a dog. Yeah, it's so...
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I did like that actress, though. That first girl, the freckly girl with the
curly
overbearing
hair.
backpack.
And I think she's the one who actually gives us the backstory of like, I just want to work with kids, and so I'm super excited, and I'm going to cook in the kitchen.
And like Barbara Voorhees also drives a green Jeep.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Hairy Chest has a green Jeep, but also Barbara Voorhees, because they're clearly making us think that he picks up Freckly Girl and then chases her into the woods, and
he's the bad guy. He's the killer.
Right?
It's a small
but then
town.
they don't ever revisit him as the bad guy ever again.
No.
Like, they make you think he's opening the camp so that he can kill people as his revenge, and then they just drop that 32 minutes into the film.
They bring it back a little bit when he's about to be killed. When they shine the light in his face, he's standing next to the camp sign, and he goes, "Oh, it's you. What are you doing?" Like in that cliche
because
that they do in horror movies.
Because he knows Barbara.
Yeah, and she shows up later, and she's like, "I'm a friend of the Christies."
That's so weird. That's
no, it
so
doesn't
weird.
make any sense. But I still found it fun to watch. I'm clearly alone in this. We rate the movies on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So if it's like 1 decapitated Barbara Voorhees head, up until 10 being the best, 10 decapitated Barbara Voorhees heads. Right. What do you think?
Well, I feel like most of the deaths are unsatisfying, and they're shot. Clearly, they don't have a lot of budget, and so they're just. And then her head flew off, and then that was it. You don't need to see that again. Like, I want to see the head roll down into the beach. I want the mouth to have a crab walk into it, or like I want. So you want like more fun,
more joy in the deaths.
I'm stoned in a movie theater, and I'm 15, and that was silly to watch someone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a note about Barbara Voorhees' head. The second movie starts with the surviving girl opening her own refrigerator, and there in the fridge is the head of Barbara Voorhees.
Oh, really?
It's a jump scare, and then she is killed.
And then the girl is killed because they only wanted to hire her for one day.
That's right. And that's all I remember about that movie.
So she imagines Barbara Voorhees' head is in her refrigerator, but then what does she die of?
She gets decapitated. She gets
by
macheted
Jason?
By an adult Jason.
Who's in the city?
Yeah. And
he's
it's
like back home in her California home in her apartment. I mean, she says, "I'm going to go back to California."
And this is just my memory talking, but I'm pretty sure she's on the phone, being like, "I know things have been hard, but I'm just trying to get back to normal, and got to get back on that horse." And then she like hangs up the phone, and she's like getting ready for bed, and she opens.
Well, of course we let the phone call finish because we don't care about how long this takes.
No, we need the whole thing.
Don't let the killer interrupt the phone call because that would be rude.
It would be.
And then he chops her head off.
He chops her head off. She opens the door. She sees the head. Then her head goes
Because
flying.
where is Camp Crystal Lake? It's the east, right?
Yeah, it's in like they say at some point it's in like Philadelphia or like.
I mean, do they ever say? Isn't it supposed to just be some generic Midwest Americana?
They give it a place at some point, but it's
a state.
Once, yeah.
They do.
A P letter state.
Wow.
Or place.
Like Pennsylvania.
Something like that, yeah.
And so she was back. Jason, like, how did he flew to California? What, did he just get on TWA?
He got in a green Jeep.
I mean, I know this is pre-TSA check-in, but you can't go on the plane with a hockey mask and a bloody machete. Like, that's not...
So he doesn't get the hockey mask until the third movie.
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah, the whole second movie, he has a like a cloth bag over his head, like
a sack?
Like burlap?
A sack. Yeah. Yes, exactly, burlap.
With like one hole in it?
Yeah, like a scarecrow. Yeah.
Come on.
And he wears
like he's about to be hanged.
Yeah, and he wears like coveralls, like a mechanic's coveralls, and but we know that we learn later that Jason is willing to just like he can walk at a very slow speed and like get anywhere. So I think he walked.
He walked to California.
That's why it took him a year.
He walked to California.
He started following her immediately.
Mm-hmm. It's like the story of
it's
that.
Again when you're.
Like the veteran with one leg that walked across this country with a dog.
When you're not
Jason
watching him,
he's
running.
Jason did.
And Jason lived on the bottom of a pond for 7 years and then became 40 the next day. Right. So take that, veteran. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your service.
You could do a whole video of like movie characters and how they act when someone's not watching them. Like Batman, when people like turn his back, he hides behind something so that they turn around and he's gone. And like Jason Voorhees suddenly running around something, and then
Jason's
they look
like
and he's
actually
moving
really
slow.
good at track.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing parkour and hiding behind something because
like maybe
how quickly he seems to move.
The hockey mask was just like one of those. Now that people wear those masks to help them, they have to breathe hard. They have to suck harder to get air in their lung as like a training device.
Yeah.
Jason pioneered that technology. He's actually now like a billionaire, like a tech billionaire, from being the douche that convinced 40-year-old white men to wear a fucking face mask on a treadmill at Equinox.
He was like, this is working for me, you guys. Like, my cardio is amazing. I can lift untold amount of teenagers.
Jason could eat whatever he wanted. He never gained a pound.
Nope. And like...
There was a six-pack inside that bloody mechanics onesie that he was wearing.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be amazing if someone just like ripped it off him and underneath there was just like this
hot murderers of the
glorious-
80s films calendar.
And like a strange tattoo.
Just sexy Jason as a Halloween costume. I'm
Yes.
sexy
Right, like a
Jason.
Dave Matthews tattoo.
I want to see that this Halloween. Sexy Jason, get on it.
Unfuckable Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. The thing about the mask too is that like as the movies went on, they just kept adding things to it. So like in the first, he gets it at the beginning of the third movie, the hockey mask, and then it gets that little chip in it.
Right.
In the beginning of the fourth.
Well,
and they
because
just add to it.
consistency clearly matters.
And like
to
the
this
journey,
franchise.
it's about the journey. Right? So, but I totally sidetracked us.
Yeah.
What,
But, I mean, by the way, I know it ultimately became Jason v. Freddy.
yeah.
Please, we all agree that Freddy is superior by every metric.
Oh
right?
my
Those
God,
movies are
am I the only
better.
one who thinks that Jason will win?
Oh, really? Just as a story? That wasn't he like the shunned pedophile that was put down in the thing and he burned?
Yeah.
and
No,
had
as
the
a story is better.
Everything about those, and Johnny Depp was in those movies, and I'm sorry, Kevin Bacon, you're no Johnny Depp.
No Johnny
I'm
Depp.
sorry.
Oh, baby Johnny Depp.
Right, wasn't he like masturbating in the bed when he gets killed?
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny Depp, thank
And
you
you're
for
just
that. I needed that when I was 15. I needed Johnny
He
Depp,
wears a half shirt too the whole
crop
time.
tops. Boy,
It's
and
worth
crop
it to
tops,
revisit.
crop tops
Yeah.
are back.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for that. It was worth Barbara Voorhees losing her son
Yeah.
for me to get crop tops back in 2019.
On a sexy Jason.
It was a small price to pay, Barbara.
So what would your rating be?
Oh, I don't know that it even deserves a full decap. It's like literally one decapitation. The head didn't come all the way off. There's still a tendon attached, and the head is like flopping attached to the torso. And then the man playing the body is doing weird things with his fingers as an acting choice.
Yes.
That's how many decapitations it
So
gets.
0.5.
Yeah, 0.5
Yeah.
decapitations.
And it's like you just give it that 0.5 because you watched it. Like I watched it. It is
I
a
want
film.
points for completion. Listen, I got participation ribbons all through the high school track meets. I want one again today.
Yes. And it is yours, 100%. What about you?
I'm gonna be generous and give it a 3. My gut said 2, but just to kind of like knowing that this is the one that kicks off the franchise, and I'm giving 1 point to honor the franchise. Yeah, I'm giving it a 3. I'm sorry.
That is the lowest you have ever rated anything.
Kill
I
me
do
now.
feel like you're right, though. You have to respect the pure Americana
Right.
Yeah.
of them turning it into from
Yeah.
truly a silk purse from a sow's ear. Like,
Right.
they had nothing to work with in that first film, and yet someone was like, wait a minute. What if the underwater tooth coming out of his head, fish child, jumped up? So it's like he jumps out. What if he comes back and starts whacking more sexy stoned teenagers? And someone was like at the studio was like, yeah,
Green light.
let's do Blow.
Well, they had to, but if they wanted to keep the movies going and they killed the killer, right? They needed a way to.
But because it wasn't franchise fever yet in 1980. They
The
kind of started
Nightmare
that,
on Elm Street
right.
and Friday the 13th like happened at the same
They
time.
kind of were like, we're just gonna find a way to just do the same movie over and again 19 times. And the best one is always gonna be like 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Just always, right?
Just in that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's in the Dream Warriors. That's Nightmare on
yeah.
Elm Street 4.
I
Yeah.
feel like 3 is really great, right? Is
Yeah.
3 Johnny Depp?
He's one. He's
Number
number
one.
one. Yeah.
All right. We
Yeah.
might have to go back and watch those.
Coming to
It's a
this
fun
movie,
watch.
I was definitely looking forward to the stuff that I knew of Friday the 13th, and this just didn't quite have it. Like, it was before the stuff I guess I enjoy, like the more creative kills, and really Jason. It really starts happening with Jason. It's just this first one just didn't do it for me.
Wow.
It's the joylessness. That's
Yeah.
exactly what
And-
it is.
Yeah, and they kill a snake. That's not cool.
They really did kill that snake
Well,
too. They
they
really
did.
did.
Yeah.
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 What is, as a filmmaker, what are the licenses you have to get to.
You can't kill a snake. Like, yeah, you can't kill an animal.
So nowadays, if you needed to kill us as a story point, you need to kill it. It
You'd
would
be
have
a fake
to be
one.
a fake snake.
Yeah,
and you'd have to
100%.
have Peter Reps on the set.
I don't think they asked anybody. They were like, "Oh, there's a snake. Let's kill it. Wait, let me get the camera. Let's kill it."
Because it was just a regular old black. Like, that would be the easiest thing to use a rubber snake for.
Yeah.
There really was no reason to kill a real snake.
And to chop it into many bits. Yeah.
Yeah. While it was alive. Yeah.
Yeah. It's terrible. But I don't know. I think my childhood memories of getting to watch this movie when I was not supposed to be watching it, have definitely dug their heels and tendrils into me feeling like I love it. Because I started watching it, I'm curled up with a warm blanket and a glass of wine, and I'm like, this is going to be the best. 100% fell asleep and finished watching it at a car wash while I was getting my oil changed. But
It's
I
exactly
think I
where it
enjoyed
deserved to be watched.
Yes. So I would still give it at least a 6.
Okay.
Better than 5.
I mean, Barbara is
Barbara.
gone. She can't hurt you.
She
You can be honest.
Don't be afraid.
Although, I
really
guess she was
slapped
only
that girl.
42 when they shot that, so she could very well be alive
Yikes.
today.
She's gonna give me a call.
She's
Okay.
today the age she should have been when she got cast
When
in that
she
role.
killed the moon. So then we also do a deep cut recommendation. So this is
Right.
something if you were to watch this on Netflix,
If you enjoyed this experience,
Netflix would tell you, hey, you'd also like this. Amazon will be like, did you like that? Here's some more of that. But we want to give something that's not the first thing you would think of for a deep cut recommendation.
Like another horror
You wanna go
movie of
deeper
Not
that?
into-
necessarily. So, my recommendation for Friday the 13th is a camp for adults, Camp Improv Utopia. So it's a legit summer camp in the woods where you get to go throw axes and shoot arrows, but also do tons and tons and tons of improv with people from all over the country. So you get that Friday the 13th, let's go hang out in a cabin and be camp counselors sort of feel, but with less murder and more yes and. So that's my recommendation.
Oh, wait, what's the movie called?
But it's an actual camp. It's called Camp Improv Utopia.
Wow, so it's like a documentary.
No, it's a real place. It's not even a movie.
Wow.
It's like a real life experience. There's one in Cambria, California. They go to somewhere on the East Coast, which might actually be where they have Camp Blood, and then they go to Ireland. And
So it's for people that think Renaissance fairs aren't annoying enough.
yes, you need.
We're gonna
to
really
go.
submerge you in this for 3 fucking weeks.
It's over a long weekend. It's usually on a
It's
holiday
an
weekend.
incredibly long weekend.
And you go camp. It's like an adult summer camp for improv people.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation. It's not even a movie. It's like a real life
Wow.
experience.
Cool.
Do you have one?
yeah. So I'm going to recommend Friday the 13th, the video game. So it's out on PlayStation and Xbox. So this
Wait,
is
it's a modern
Yes.
day video game?
I think it came out a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And so you basically play Jason, but you can choose any of the different versions of Jason.
Okay.
And it's kind of a death match to where you hunt down the kids in the camp.
Oh.
And they're way more resourceful in the game than in the movies. Or you could flip it and you can be one of the kids who's trying to survive
Oh,
an attack from Jason.
that does sound fun.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fun. Especially if you're into Friday the 13th and the whole franchise. It's
Yeah.
a great way to kind of, jump into it and have some joy.
Right on.
That sounds fun, and I'm not a video game person, but I actually do want to check that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so my deep cut is going to be an entirely different kind of camp, but also a movie from 1980,
Love it.
which is called Can't Stop the Music. Have you seen this movie? This is the only movie that the Village People got
Yes.
to star
God,
in.
yes.
Bruce Jenner, when it was still Bruce Jenner, is in it, along with, you just can't even, it's Valerie Perrine, and although IMDb lists it as Caitlyn Jenner, I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, wow, they went back and changed it?
Holy shit. Listen, I'm very, trans positive, and I want to say this is the moment. Bruce Jenner existed. It's okay, IMDb. Bruce Jenner made that movie. Caitlyn didn't make that movie. That's kind of weird.
That's who you see in the movie.
And he looks amazing in little short shorts and a crop top, by the way. But
That
you
was that was what you were.
this movie, Can't Stop the Movie, Can't Stop the Music is such a bad movie about in-your-face gayness from 1980 that as a gay man, I'm almost like it is such a horrible movie. It is so criminal, but this movie is so bad and delicious. It is like, it's not boring. Believe me, you will never be bored. You'll be concerned.
Yes.
You'll be very, very worried at the number of people that had to say, this is a good idea, let's shoot this.
Let's keep going.
But it's literally like if the producers happened. Like, it's literally like, let's make the worst movie we can make and see what happens. You've got
tax write-off.
to rent it. There are, of course, musical numbers.
Okay.
And so you've got to watch this movie. It's incredible. It's unbelievable that it got made, and it couldn't be made today. It's such a time capsule. It's a better 1980 camp film than Friday the 13th is.
All right, so thank you so much for joining us and being here. And
It was such a pleasure. This is fun.
Like we said, we're at the Big Pines Comedy Festival. There's been awesome stuff and happening all weekend: comedy shows, podcasts, sketch and improv. So much fun stuff. The Big Pines Comedy Festival might be my deep cut recommendation. Come to the actual wilderness. So what do you have anything that you want to plug or mention at Twitter?
So I have a podcast called Due Diligence with Tony Tripoli and Tobias Barrington-Wolf that I do. And Tobias Barrington-Wolf is a law professor at Penn University. Excuse me. He was actually on President Obama's legal team that got marriage equality pushed through. He argued the photographer that wouldn't photograph the lesbian wedding, which was before the cake. That case was his case, which he actually took all the way up. And he's like one of the most brilliant legal minds, specifically in the areas of equal rights. And we do a podcast every week or so where a dumb comedian that doesn't understand how things work gets to scream and yell and go, why is this administration allowed to get away with this? And he explains in a very user-friendly way what legal loopholes they are taking advantage of and what possibly Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats could do, might do, what the success rate would be, just about the judicial part of it. So it's a really fun, very unhappy, not very funny podcast that we try to, have some laughs in. And then we usually end by talking about RuPaul's Drag Race or Pose or something as a palate cleanser.
Something that
because as a very, very smarty pants person, he thinks that reality shows are real. And I have to explain to him how fake RuPaul's Drag Race really is. And so we kind of get to take turns being the expert. But you can find us anywhere podcasts are. And I'm at tonytripoli.com, so come see me do a show.
Wonderful.
Cool.
All right, Nathan, what about you?
You can find my films and stuff about me at squishystudios.com.
Yes, and I am at National Comedy Theater, NCT Phoenix Online, and NCT Phoenix The Place in downtown Mesa, Arizona. Hey, thanks for listening. Write a review, thumbs up, do all of the stuff that, you do for podcasts. Tell a friend. Tell someone you don't like that much. Just tell somebody and check that box. So we always end the podcast by saying, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
I was in that movie.
Are you
I
fucking
grew up in
kidding me?
Phoenix, Arizona, and they shot it in Tempe.
Yeah.
And I am a nerd on the school bus at the very beginning when someone is on a school bus and I think does like a fart or something. And there's a shot of me looking over my shoulder making a face.
That's awesome.
I literally didn't even have a line. I don't think I'm not even credited. But yeah, I was like an extra as nerd.
That's amazing.
Not even, but I'm tangentially, barely. I'm in that movie when I was 16 years old.
That's 17. The most important thing I've learned all day.
But what's the line again? It's be excellent.
I'm going to say be excellent to each other, and then we're all going to say it together and party on, dudes.
I can do that.
Okay.
I'm from the theater.
From the theater. I know how to slap a teenager. All right.
And there is, we didn't even talk about the Katharine Hepburn impersonation in this movie.
It does happen.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
Into a mirror. Yeah.
Where were the calla lilies?
Thank you guys so much for listening, both here at the actual Big Pine Comedy Festival and many weeks afterwards on your listening devices. Do, as you go forward in life, keep the most excellent 80s movies podcast in mind, motto in mind, be excellent to each other, and
Party on, dudes.
Thank you. That's all.